McNeely. Guess what, baby? What a great win. You're locked on.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen. Every day we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's show, just want to say thank you to everyone, all the people in the live show. We're proud to say we're the only daily podcast covering both UConn men's and women's basketball, the hoops capital of the world. We're thrilled to bring you the coverage you deserve. To show that gratitude, we're giving back. We're donating 10% of our revenue to Husky Ticket Project, helping send kids to a bunch of different UConn games. All I got to say is, wow. Lots to break down after UConn's gritty come-from-behind win on the road over Creighton. The headline, Liam freaking McNeely. Absolutely sensational. 38 points, 12 of 22 from the floor, knocking down 5 threes. The 2 clutch free throws at the end, 9 for 10 from the floor. This wasn't just a great game. This was, as Dan likes to call it, an announcement. But beyond McNeely's offensive clinic, we're going to talk about the supporting cast, or lack thereof. But in clutch moments, Alex Karaban struggled from deep, didn't make a 3. I think him and Solo were on 0 for altogether. Let's be honest. You keep Alex in the game for some of the stuff he did at the end. Clutch rebounds, the floaters, off of the action that we talked about earlier today on the men's show. Samson Johnson was perfect from the field, but limited minutes. Solo ball, again, not great from the floor, but him and Alex both figured out that they could get by their guy off the action that Dan is creating for them with the type of spacing that we've talked about. God, it was a quieter night, but the Huskies found a way to grind it out. Obviously, without Liam, this team gets absolutely their doors blown off. But that's what he brings to this team. I'm fired up. Creighton pushed back hard. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the whistles, whatever. Even if we lost, I wasn't going to talk about the whistles. It is what it is. They don't foul, or maybe their reputation calls, whatever, and we have a reputation for fouling a crap ton. Guess what? UConn's defense down the stretch sealed it. Got a little lucky break. That Ashworth 3 at the end kind of rimmed out. But unbelievable performance. I'm going to get the StreamYard link in the chat right now. So if you want to talk about it, love to hear your guys' thoughts. Got a bunch of people on watching live. I appreciate everyone that has jumped in already. Guys, let's bring in Dan. Just join the stage. I want to hear him go crazy. What's up, brother?
Hold on, let me get situated here.
I don't know, man. What you got? Ooh, we got a little flag going on. I love it.
Repeat back on. Let's go. Let's go.
Absolutely. Haven't there been people on our show that have talked about McNeely is overrated and he's not that good and all this other stuff? You remember that? Remember those guys? I don't see any of those guys in the chat.
38 and 10 tonight. 12 of 22 shooting
on the road.
Arguably the greatest performance by a UConn freshman ever. Wow, what a player!
Thank you for that stat, Mike. Karaban and Solo 9 of 29 from the floor, 0 of 11 from 3, 1 by 4 in Omaha. Beautiful. Hey, guess what? I guess Dan Hurley kind of knows a thing or two about how to play winning basketball, because when I was in the building last Friday, he was frustrated with Alex and said, "You know what? Sometimes you just gotta go down on your shield and just say F it and fire away." And that's what Alex did. And guess what? He missed a clutch free throw. He missed a bunch of threes, but he made a bunch of clutch floaters. Can't believe that little layup didn't go in. But then guess what he did? He stole the ball and got us an extra possession. All of this stuff is the reason why Alex plays, guys. Like, for all the people that are like, well, we need to do this, that, and the other thing with Alex. No, you let him play. He's earned it. He's going to shoot his way out. And if he doesn't, that's life. Sorry. That's my rant for the day. Let's get some people on the show already. Let's go in reverse. I haven't heard from Silky in a while. I'll talk to him a little bit, and then we'll get Bernie in after that. What you got, brother?
Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Good, brother. What's up?
Flying high.
What a game, man. Liam, I mean, and I want to say something about Liam. His rebounding is like so underrated. It's incredible. It's just, he gets double doubles all the time, and he's like 8 rebounds, 10 rebounds. This team has no quit, and I love it.
38
Absolutely.
and 10 tonight, and iced the game with the 2 free throws at the end. Like he did everything
not?
for them tonight. Unbelievable.
Why the hell not? What did you see, Silky? Like, because for me, I was live tweeting pretty much the whole game, had an opportunity to do that. And I hated the start, but because we kind of hung around, Dan said this on the pod earlier, it's like this team is kind of blowout proof. And they kind of showed that today because even when they got down 14, they really started to, whittle that away. And they chip away and they chip away, and they played so much better. Between the first half and the second half, they went on a 13-0 run to cut it to 1. And then I knew that we were back in the game. What else did you see?
I love the small ball lineup, honestly. I think the ball moved very well. And it made Kalkbrenner have to come out more on the when he would play defense. So it kept the middle of the court, so people with Ball or Karaban beat their man. It was easier to get into the lane rather than having to face a 7-foot, however fucking tall he is, center and in the center. So sorry, I swore. My apologies. I know this is
How dare you?
my apologies.
So-
but
What will we tell the children? What will we tell the children that are watching at 11:36 at night?
Go to bed. Go to bed.
Go to bed.
PG-13. It's PG-13.
Mark, I want to run through some game notes here.
Go ahead.
I just thought the game plan in this game worked to perfection. They traveling on the road. We talked about this in the preview pod earlier today. The positionless lineup was the reason why they won this basketball game. Terrace Reed and Samson Johnson have a rough first half with regard to fouls. You can complain about the whistle all you want. It evened out in the second half. I thought the second half was clean as hell. Stephen Ashworth and Kalkbrenner, we played them pretty well in the first matchup at Gamble, but Jemiah Neal smoked us, and that was the reason why Creighton gets the first victory. Tonight, Jemiah Neal has a good first half, but they really slowed him down. I thought UConn was lights out in the second half. Creighton only scores 29 in the second half. I think UConn at one point went on a 14-1 run in a 4-minute stretch to start the second half. In the first 10 minutes there, Stephen Ashworth finishes 1 for 8 from the field. Misses all 5 of his 3-point attempts. Best free throw shooter in the nation, goes 11 of 12. Scores 11 of his 13 points at the line. Ryan Kalkbrenner, 5 and 9, 9 boards, 3 blocks, only 13 points. You need more than that from your best player if you're going to beat this UConn team. Jemiah Neal, 5 of 12 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3, just 12 points. So those are the 3 guys. Those are the only 3 guys for Creighton that scored in double digits. The credit to whoever had the scout, whether it's Kamani Young or Luke tonight, lights out scouting job. Lights out.
Yes.
Totally agree. This is more of like a cosmetic thing, or just kind of like me trying to find something to get angry at. I just can't stand Steve Lapis calling games, and I will say this, because it's not because he doesn't know what he's talking about, but he also is. There are so many more guys who would come into this. Like you could throw Dan Meehan in this as an analyst, because I'm giving Bernie a shout out because we're going to bring him on next. But the reason why I get pissed off about stuff like that is because I heard from people, they're UConn fans that went to the game in Omaha. They're like, man, Solo's wrist is really heavily taped and doesn't look like he's really warming up as much. Like all this stuff that I'm not even in the building that I knew ahead of time. Not because I cover UConn, but because I'm not a moron. Like it doesn't take a lot to do these guys get the type of statistics and insight that we don't even get the chance to do, and we know it. Like, it's not about knowing the game. Steve Lapis could draw plays, circles around me. So I'm not talking about his ability to kind of dissect the game, because he made some great points about the small ball lineup and how that helped UConn, like as Silky just said. But, dude, you can't sit there and go, Solo Ball's one of the best shooters in the country. I just can't believe he's off tonight. I don't know. Do you think it's because he has a wrist problem with his left hand? Like, I just have to bring that stuff up. But it all matters. Yeah. It all matters with his shot. Like, you could just tell that he was not comfortable from deeper. That's why he was trying to get to the hole more. The majority of his jumpers inside 15 feet were perfect.
Yeah.
So
short.
Come on, man. Like just
pretty high level information.
Be a little bit better. That's all we're asking.
Yeah.
And whatever. All right. Soki, one more thing from you, and then we're gonna get to Bernie.
Yeah, last thing I wanted to say is no Hassan Diar in the second half, and we rested him. And there was I think
Good.
that was huge. I think it was huge for us. Also, I think he could rest in the Seton Hall game too. If I'm being frank, I don't think we really need to play him that much. In my personal opinion, I think he needs as much rest as possible.
Disagree at all.
That's it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, brother. All right, let's get you out and let's get Bernie in. Bernie.
We beat the children of the corn. We literally beat the children of the corn tonight. I cannot believe how this team had combined 47 turnovers the last two games, and they had 6 turnovers tonight. 6.
Wow, that's it? 6?
They had 6 turnovers.
Cleaned it up.
Nice job.
47. They had 25 against Marquette. They had 22 against St. John's. And 6 tonight against Creighton in that horrific building in the cornfields of Omaha.
$1 beer night spoiled, Bernie. How do you feel about that?
Well, I was just more intrigued about the fact they kept on chanting F. Hurley and F. Hurley this and F. Hurley that. Well, guess what? Who got the last laugh tonight? You children of the corn jack-offs? Hurley did. It was...
Slow down, Bernie. Take it easy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm joking with you, man.
It was such an amazing performance. When they went down 14 at 37-23, my first thought was, here we go again. This is going to be the same thing that happened last season. But then they went on that 6-0 run to end that first half and cut the lead to 8.
Well, Bernie, I'm not to cut you off, but I have this written down in my notes. From the time that Creighton goes up 14 in the first half, they then go 3 of 19 from the floor, including a 13-1 run by UConn from the 15 to 11 minute mark in the second half. That's where UConn won the game. And they just kept playing in the second half. Credit to Alex Karaban, who was just ice cold from both the 3-point line and apparently the free throw line. It can't buy a bucket. He kept playing. He had that floater working in the lane. That give and go, they had it like Mark. We talked about this on the preview pod earlier today. That give and go play was there tonight. They muffed it a couple times, and then late it bounces off. Credit to the guy on Creighton who slapped it off Sampson's leg in the last minute of the game. But that play was there all night, and it was working for them. So credit to Karaban to just stay consistent and keep playing. Like, he was getting good offensive rebounds. He's getting good penetration in the lane. He misses all of his shots on the 3-point line, but he kept playing and contributed to our win.
But I have a theory about Karaban, and this is something that I brought up on Twitter, and I think I mentioned it to you or mentioned to somebody. I think Karaban has a little bit of a confidence issue right now because he missed those 2 free throws at Villanova. And after he missed those 2 free throws, you sort of saw him be so dejected and so frustrated. And I think he's still carrying that with him. And as somebody who is supposed to be the leader of this team, and yes, he didn't shoot the ball particularly, but he made clutch plays at the end of the game. He needs to sort of push that stuff out about Villanova and just focus on the game and just focus on his ability. And I think he's sort of wasting his time just thinking about those 2 missed free throws. Dude, you just won in Omaha.
Yeah.
Okay,
but Bernie, I agree with you to a point. Like, I think that some of that's overblown. I think it's just really he's just off. Like, I don't know if the free throws, because he had a good game after the Villanova game. The one directly after the Villanova game, he had a pretty good game. Maybe he wasn't vintage Karaban where he's hitting threes. This has always been, and thank you, Bernie. This has always been the knock on Alex, which is when he plays tougher competition, his splits drop. And they've been on a stretch of playing some good quad 1 teams here. This is a quad 1 win for them that helps them in seeding and all that stuff. But if you just look at it last year, and I'm going off top of my head, so if I'm off by a percentage or 2, don't kill me. He shot something like 47% on quad 2, 3, and 4 games. And then those splits dropped to about 33% when he plays quad 1 games. And Dan brought this up, and we've talked about it. It's shooting in tighter windows. Now, he had some open looks tonight. The open looks he's got to hit. The contested threes, he's got to make a few every once in a while. I have no issue. But what I did love about Alex, and this shows me that he is not thinking about the Villanova game, and not to discredit your point, but he kept shooting tonight. It's not like he was just like, oh, I missed my first one. Oh, give the ball to Liam, hot potato. Dude, there was a possession where he missed 3 straight threes. That tells me he does not give a rip about anything that happens. Dan got to him and said, I don't give a boop about anything that you're about to do. You lead this team by showing them that you're fearless and that you're going to shoot because shooters shoot their way out of slumps.
And
you
just
cannot tell me otherwise.
No one else had it going aside from him and Liam tonight. I'm not going to say Alex didn't have he didn't have his shooting touch tonight, but still the ball was 4-15, played 38 minutes. Jaden Ross, a dud. Terrace Reed played terrible. Yusuf plays 1 minute. Aiden Mahaney, 4 points in 17 minutes, 2 of 6 from the field. Hassan, a non-factor in 8 minutes on the playing. Samson Johnson, a non-factor, 4 fouls in 11 minutes. Jalen Stewart, just 5 points. Karaban had 10. Liam had 38. That's 48 of the 70 points, like from 2 guys. If Alex doesn't play the way he plays, despite this bad shooting night, they don't win this game.
Yeah. Well,
Bernie,
one more
real
thing.
quick, because hold on. I'll let you make your last point, but I want to show you this, and then we're going to go to Joey Bail Bonds, and then Steve, and then anyone else that wants to jump on. Also, guys, if I kick you out of the stream, it's not because you suck. It's because we can only have 10 people in backstage at once. So if it gets crowded, I just kind of move people around. Just a heads up. I made a tweet, and someone was like, you have to show accountability, and I'm going to. When they got down 14, this was my tweet. And who is this a-hole that covers the team? I don't know if you can see that. I got to stay up late and talk about this. So listen, we all have our moments of weaknesses, and I own it, and I screenshotted it, and I want to show you guys because, as you all know, I'm just a fan with a mic here, and I appreciate everyone that comes at me because I'll come right back at you. And you know what? If you want, like I said on Twitter earlier, I will be at the next game home against Villanova. So will Bernie because I hooked him up with a ticket. So holler at your boy.
Yeah, I'll be there.
But if you want to come talk to me face to face instead of showing absolutely no guts and coming at me on Twitter, I always come back and talk about stuff that I say wrong, and this was wrong.
Speaking of Twitter, I got one stat. I got a stat I want to throw at you. This is credit to our guy, the grid guy on Twitter. Freshman with at least 38 points, 10 rebounds against a top 25 opponent on the road. Michael Beasley, Cade Cunningham, Liam McNeely. Decent company.
Okay, I'll just say this.
Bernie, last point, quickly.
Okay, I'll just say this. Big win tonight. Got to win over the weekend. Mark, I can't wait to see you on Tuesday of next week. I'm going to be at the Villanova game. I'm so excited. I'm still waiting for the ticket to get through. Do I have to wait for the email? What do I have to do? Because I'm still waiting for the ticket. But I can't wait.
You have to talk quicker on here, and then you get your ticket. No, I'm kidding. Because it's through a third party, it's like I get it the day before. So I'll either email you the day before or the day of. So don't worry, you'll get your ticket.
All right. Mark, once again, you do a fantastic job. And you know what? I'm the same as you. As a UConn fan, I feel the same. When they're down big, I think they're bad things, but yet what they did tonight was fantastic. And of course, Dan. Meehan. Have a great night, guys. And see you all on Tuesday.
Yes, sir. All right. Joey Bailons. What's up, brother?
What's up, guys? So, yeah, I mean, what a win. It reminded me a lot of the Kansas game when they just battled back Tristan Newton off his back foot, just making shots. It's a great win. I mean, listen, that shows you the difference maker that Liam is. And
right.
He's got to be I'm not saying he's going to go on to be the best NBA player after having a freshman campaign like this, but the only other guy that's ever been one and done at the UConn program is Andre Drummond, and he didn't play like this as a freshman at UConn. This is the greatest freshman campaign in the history of the UConn program.
Yeah,
and it sucks that he was hurt because we kind of missed that. That's the worst part about it. It's that because this dude isn't staying. You know what I mean? Like I know people were like, "Well, maybe he'll stick around." Nah, man.
I had a tweet draft. I had a tweet drafted in the first half. I erased it, thank God, because it might have changed something in the ether and let him have that game. I was thinking in the first half when they go down like 10, 14 points. I'm like, what a unfortunate waste of a great freshman campaign. because if UConn just goes on, I don't know, whatever happens the rest of the season, who knows? But if they get a second round exit in the tournament, like it's just such an unfortunate waste that we only get this stud for one season in which he only played. It's like Kyrie at Duke. We'll get him for a few more games than they did, but the ceiling of this team is just raised to a different level when he's on the court. He scored their first 9 points, and he was just unbelievable all night.
Daniel, I didn't want to cut you off, and then you had about 15 people in the chat go, what about Steph Castle? Obviously, just he also was.
He was one and done. I apologize. You're right. My bad.
Had a great year. What is this? I swear to God, this dude Jay Rosa, you're one of the guys. He's played only one great game. You're one of the dudes that was like, oh, this dude isn't that good. He has no game. But bro, my man just went on the road. On the road. You can talk about Cooper Flagg all you want. Cooper Flagg scored 42 at home against a crap. What team they play? Boston College or some BS? Come on, man. Please. Just
they showed the graphic on the screen that the other 2 freshmen that have scored 32, 36, maybe Richard Hamilton twice and Khalid El-Amin. Decent company.
No, I'm with you.
That's pretty good company.
Absolutely.
I mean, the thing about Castle too, the way Castle evolved, I don't think Castle was as good a shooter coming in that McNeely was. McNeely from day one, you could tell kids got game. Castle was great to see how he evolved through the season because in the beginning he didn't have a 3-point shot to the point he's banging threes. And
the NBA ceiling for Castle might be higher than Liam. Who knows? We'll find out in a few years. But I don't think that Steph was ever, even at this point of the season last year, was never as important handling the ball as Liam is to this year's team. And again, I love Steph Castle. This is no disrespect to Steph Castle.
No, it's not disrespect.
But Liam, you saw it from the second this game started. Scores their first 9 points and just does not let off the gas. That kid is 19 years old doing that.
He's that
a-hole. Oh, and by the way, he is an a-hole. He's the Cam Spencer of this team. But guess what? Also, 38 and 11 or 38 and 10, and played point guard and covered Stephen Ashworth the entire game. Stephen Ashworth wasn't the factor that he was in the first game because he had a 6'8", 240-pound monster on him the entire game that fought through screens, that disrupted everything that Creighton did. And that was the biggest part of this game that we didn't really even talk about. It's not just about this dude didn't just go, oh, okay, well now I could take some defensive plays off. No, he shut them down on both sides. That's a huge part of this. Come on now.
And got up
it's one of the biggest rebounds to end the game, and then ices it with the 2 free throws. Just
for sure, like just absolutely a stud.
There was a lot of. I know there was a lot of NBA scouts in the building tonight too. Like. His second game back, he was a little rusty against St. John's at home. His first game back was not on a minute count, by the way. Like they said, he was going to be on a pitch count. He was not. He played 30 plus. Sure he was. I think he played 30. Played 38 minutes tonight. Just like if you were an NBA scout, you were just. If he was already top 15 in mock drafts, like he potentially top 10 after tonight. Trending.
I'll tell you, man, like I don't think I've ever seen a performance like that except for when I was, and this is not from a freshman, when I was like 13 years old, I went to the Garden and Daniel Marshall has I think it was against St. John's, 42 in the quarterfinals back in the day. And like, but still, this is a kid who's, 18, maybe 19 years old. And that was Daniel was a grown man. He was a junior. And, it's just
crazy. To think about Mark, you and I, we had, when he had got hurt, he had been playing so well. Like he started to find his stroke before he gets hurt at DePaul. And it's just like what life could have been if they lose 3 games without him, go 5-3 in the 8 games they miss him, which is fine. But I think they win all 8 of those games if he's playing. So who knows? It woulda, coulda, shoulda, but we got excited about having this kid back. And my God, after tonight, like their ceiling is just raised so much higher with him on the floor. It's exciting.
I mean, 100%. You're going to see him probably playing point guard going forward. I would say.
Yeah.
You're not. What's his name's not going to be out. Hassan's probably going to be shut down for the next game.
That too, like the scouting aspect of this, to go with the wings on Stephen Ashworth. We said it on the preview pod coming into this game. You have to slow down Ashworth Because if you slow him down, that means you slow Ryan Kalkbrenner down because he's the number one feeder to that guy. And
when they went small, Karaban was doing a great job. I would honestly, they had a better lineup going small.
He was playing the 5.
Yeah, he was playing the 5.
Second half.
Outside for that one play where he got backed down and got taken out, he was doing a very good job. And they couldn't get it to him. They weren't feeding it to him.
He had a couple good big-time rebounds in the second half, Karaban.
All right, boys, real quick, I'm going to take a short commercial break, and then we'll come back, and we have a couple more callers, and we'll talk about first time winning in Omaha, and then we had a good question on here that I want us to talk about. Save your answers for when we come back from the break. But that's the question right there. Does Alex Karaban come back next year? We will talk about that real quick after the break. All right. Wayfair. I love Wayfair. I won't lie to you. It is one of my favorite places to go. It's really when my office is a mess right now. One of the things I got at Wayfair was a desk. If you've been on the hunt for some new furniture, and Wayfair's got a huge selection, makes it so easy to find pieces that fit your style and in the budget. The best part, free hassle-free delivery, even on the big stuff like a desk or bed frame, something like that. Their site is super easy to navigate. I found exactly what I needed to get what I needed with no time to lose. So if you're ready to refresh your space and head over to Wayfair right now, that's wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style for every home. All right, boys, we're back on Locked On UConn. We got Dan Meehan, owner founder of Exit 68. We got Joey Bailbonds of Joey Bailbonds. And real quick, let's answer that question, and then I'm gonna let's get Mike in here, and then we'll go okay, and then Steve. Let's get him to the stage, and he can give us his thoughts about the game here in a second. But the question as a whole is with Alex's recent struggles and just shooting struggles. Let's be honest, he's not playing poorly on defense. He's hustling. He's doing all that. We got Dan in his Ric Flair outfit over here with his cape around him. Woo! Is Alex coming back? Joey?
If he's not projected as a lock first round, yes, he comes back.
Dan?
I say no. I don't think there's anything else we can do for him in stores. Sometimes when these guys are, even if they're fringe second rounders, I think he was 40. I think he was top 40 in NBA mock drafts earlier today when I checked. Sometimes you just have to let these guys just go to the NBA coaches. Like, these guys are going to teach them different things than they do in college. In the college game, I just don't know how much more better at basketball Alex can become. So it's up to him when he's going to go to the pre-draft camps. He's already met with all these teams after last year. Like, he did that whole rigmarole already. So these teams know him. They know what he can do. They know what he can't do. It's just a matter of him, if he wants to get paid another, however, I'm not going to say it on here, what he did to come back to UConn. But there's a lot more. So I see some comments in the chat, like, Liam McNeely is not coming back to UConn. Steph Castle got paid $42 million for being the 4th overall pick in the NBA draft. Liam McNeely is leaving probably $30 million on the table if he comes back for his sophomore year. It's not happening. Karaban, different story, but I say he goes to the draft.
I think it's 50-50.
After becoming the most accomplished college basketball player in modern college basketball and winning a three-peat.
I'd say it's 50-50, and for the reason being is because I know I'm not saying this is the biggest factor, because you can always go back and get your degree, especially with the time to do it. But knowing Alex's family and how that was important to him and important to them, that he's going to make money anyway, right? So at some point he's going to make money playing professional basketball, whether that's in the NBA or God forbid he had to go overseas. But some of our guys have done that and had a great career, and I know plenty of players that still do it. Some are friends, right? I think if he's a second round pick, I think Joey has a little bit of a point, especially with, I don't know, he could talk to Dan and be like, look, we got this 15 man roster next year. You got a bunch of kids coming in next year. Let me be the mentor that you need for another year. I get my degree and then I'm gone. And I would have no issue with that. I also think, Liam is going. If you think Liam is staying, my buddy Mike texted me and said, well, Liam's gone. I said, well, he was always gone. If Liam got hurt at DePaul and never played another game for UConn, he was gone. He was a projected lottery pick before he got to UConn. So I I just don't see how that's even like a question. But I do think there's the bloom is a little off the rose with Alex, and I don't mean that in a way that he's going to learn something more from playing at UConn. But I mean, let's face it. There's guys. I'll use a couple guys at North Carolina that probably in other years probably would have went, but they had the extra COVID year, and they were like, "Well, I'm going to get paid like $1 million or $2 million a year this year," and came back, which was
those are guys that were never going to get drafted high, though.
I know that.
Alex,
but here's the thing:
there's a stink on you that can be left if you come back for a fourth year.
Dan, you're missing the point. The point is now with college basketball, you still get paid to play basketball, and he's going to make if he is not a first round pick, he's not guaranteed to make the $1 or $2 million that he's going to make at UConn next year, whether that's with NIL and some other endorsement opportunities. It's just not. It just won't be possible unless you're like the 33rd pick in the draft, where you get that guaranteed, and you're not going to be a two-way player like Tristan is this year and like Cam is. Those guys are making money, but it's not guaranteed. I got plenty of friends right now that have gone through that it sucks. If you're not a first-round pick, that shit sucks, dude. Like going back and forth between the G League and whatever team you get drafted by, then someday they go, you know what, man? We're just going to release you, like what happened to Tristan, and then you got to get picked up someplace else. So if he can get that security where he's like, listen, I'll come back to UConn, make my money, save it. He seems like a pretty, pretty solid dude. I'm sure he's not like blowing money on campus left and right. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it would make a lot of sense if he stayed. It would also make a lot of sense for him to go. I think I could see it either way. I mean, Mike, you've been waiting a long time. Feel free to jump in.
Why do you think it makes sense for him to leave this year if he didn't last year? I don't know that is
because I feel like I think Dan Meehan makes some points, which is like there's his ceiling has been met here. He's not going to all of a sudden become a better Alex is not going to start like crossing people up and like, you know what I mean, like turning into a different player. Like he is who he is. So if there's a thought process there where it's like, okay, if I am who I am and I'm only a second round pick, even if I do come back as an older player and dominate college and average 19 points a game, he's probably going to be a second round pick the next year too. Mm-hmm. It's just maybe he increases it a little bit. I don't know. That's where I can see it either way.
Coming back this year, he was betting on himself that he's going to improve his stock when he probably in the long run isn't. Yeah, that makes sense.
And he's a year older. The NBA, they think about that stuff. I think more and more you're seeing guys that it's becoming more normal to stay for 4 years, kind of like it was in the 90s and early 2000s. But there's also kind of just this stench in the air on guys that play a full 4 years of college basketball. It's like, if you were good enough, you would have came out a year or two ago. I'm not saying that's going to be the case with Alex, but I just think that he came back, like you said, to try to become a better basketball player, maybe unlock a few more things in his game, and try to do something special that no one's done since Bill Walton at UCLA. Win 3 championships in a row. I don't know if that's going to happen. Hopefully it does, but we'll see. I think he left a good mark. I remember last year, like a lot of the NBA scouts really loved him. They love who he is as a kid. His game might be, for all we know, could be better suited for the NBA. He's a 6'9". He could be a stretch 3-4 like Sam Hauser for the Celtics, hitting 40% from 3. Who knows?
He can't guard though, which just worries me. And I love him, but
can Sam Hauser?
I think a little bit better than he can.
Can Sam Hauser?
I think a little bit better than he can, but yeah, it's a fair point.
I don't know about that.
I think offense is just a little bit more coveted offense is more coveted in the NBA than defense.
Yeah.
If he can hit 38% for a guy that's 6'9" and stretch the floor for an NBA team, they might find some value in him more so than we can at UConn as a fourth year player. We'll see.
You got anything else for us, Mike?
No, super impressed with McNeely. I know everyone's talking about that tonight, but even like some little things like, and I don't know if you guys saw on the broadcast, but in the huddle before that last play when it hit off Samson Johnson's leg, you caught a clip of him hyping Samson Johnson up, and you're kind of looking in the huddle like he knew that the ball was going to end up there, and him running the huddles a little bit when before free throws and stuff, and Karaban listening and nodding his head. He does it all, and is super impressive. And there's no shot he's coming back next year.
He's a vocal leader on this team. It's so impressive. He's got the whole package.
Yeah.
By the way, I just made a bet in the chat. This dude was like, I bet money Liam comes back next year. And I said, how much? $1,000? And he said 200. And I said, all right, we're in. So just so you guys
I'll
know,
bet you-
accountability.
I'll bet you Liam's contract in the NBA next season.
$1,000?
$30 million he's not coming back to UConn.
$1,000, I got you, man. If you have the stones to throw up $1,000 against my $1,000, I guarantee you just lost money to me. So we're gonna put this up here. Why don't you hit me up at lockedonucon@gmail.com. I want to get all your information because I have a feeling you're gonna welch on that bet, my guy.
Cooper Flagg's
Anyway.
coming back to school too.
Yeah, Cooper's coming back too. They're actually working. He's going to transfer to UConn, and it's going to be Liam and Cooper on UConn next year. All right,
It's always
Mike,
possible. I don't want to just crap on our
appreciate you, brother.
callers. I don't want to just crap on the callers. We don't know anything. We don't have any inside information. It's just a hunch from watching this game.
Don't do that. We can crap on some callers, okay? Because 99% of the time the callers are fantastic. But my dude right there is either smoking way too much weed or drunk as hell right now. Come on now. Let's get Colin in here.
Congo!
What's up, Colin?
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
This is a fellow Exit 68er, Holland
Can you hear me?
alumni. Yeah, we got you. I just want to let our callers know that Colin's older brother was the Connecticut
State
baseball player of the year. What was that? 01, 02? Played at UConn, was a building block for the UConn baseball program.
Yeah. He was one of Jim Pender's first recruits out there. So, but I look, everyone's going to talk about McNeely, which was like an insane game, something that we haven't seen in God knows how long. But the thing I'm curious to hear everybody's thoughts about is just the lack of playing time, obviously because he was injured, that Diarra got in the second half, and just how good that felt to watch this team without his sort of like Marcus Smart take over the possessions when they don't need to be taken over. Like, it just obviously having McNeely out there, someone who's like the clear most talented player on the floor instead of him, makes a big difference. But I don't know, there was just something I've been begging for less playing time from Diarra, and to finally see the team kind of have a little bit of cohesion without him on the floor. There was just something there that felt different and felt good.
They found something. It was,
and
they clearly
love Diarra.
scouted.
Two-time national champ. He's been great, but it's just too much Diarra. We need less Diarra.
Colin, I don't disagree, and I'm not going to defend Diarra because I've done that too much this year. But what I will say, by the way, Joe, you got to get in here because Miles is worried about you. Just neglected over there.
I'll stop talking.
No. But what I would say is, I'll just take it back to Dan was asked about that in his last media availability, and I was on the call, and they said, "Well, because Diarra is limited, like who else can you go to?" He's like, "Well, we thought we brought in Aiden to essentially play him on ball, and we started the season with him starting, and the plan was to play Haas like 22 minutes a game, 22 minutes, have him play the role that he's played. That was the plan." Because remember when the first game hit and we saw, Aiden started. Mm-hmm. And everyone was, because that was the question, is it going to be Aiden or Diarra? Because people were like, well, Haas earned it. He's been there longer. He should start. And I was like, no, you don't mess with a good thing. You keep Diarra on the bench. And that was Dan's thinking, where he was like, all right, we brought this guy in who averaged 14 points a game at St. Mary's. He's going to be able to kind of lead us as a starter. And then Haas is going to come in and do his Haas stuff, which is like disrupt, hit a couple threes. But it wasn't supposed to be Diarra with the ball in his hands with 10 seconds left. But unfortunately, when, what's the word? What should we call it? Like, necessity is the mother of invention, right? And unfortunately, it wasn't that great of an invention. It was Haas being like, hey, I just have to do this because this is my role now. And he got hurt doing it because he's playing way too many minutes and he's small. And now we're seeing what it probably would have looked like if he didn't have to have this role. It's not a bad take. I'm just saying, like, it wasn't supposed to be this, but I don't think Dan felt like, and for whatever reason, he hasn't been able to give Amon Noel an opportunity as a freshman to kind of take over that spot.
What's up with that?
I have no idea.
I thought he was supposed to be a top 30 recruit. It's just,
I just don't think
he's been hurt, but whatever.
He's not there yet. That's the thing. He's shown little minutes like that, but he's not the guy that can take over. He doesn't have the confidence yet, I don't think.
Yeah.
And
Liam McNeely is a freshman, and he's playing a ton of minutes. If Noel was ready, Dan would play him.
Yeah, like I don't think his confidence is offense. He's not ready. Also being injured, it's not working for this. Like, you might see the growth next year, like that sophomore transition that UConn does. He'll probably come out shoot the lights out. But
It's tough to make a dent in practice and carve out a role if you're hurt all the time. Like he's just had a tough stretch, like health wise. So
Gotcha. And then the second thing was, how do we feel about without the lineup without a big? Like literally just playing no big for about 5 minute stretch. We looked so smooth, and I don't know. There was something there. I feel like
it was like with the Diarra being injured, they kind of backed into that positionless lineup tonight, and it seemed like they unlocked something. They might have found something there with Alex playing the 5, Liam on a 6'0" point guard and slowed him down. Like that was the lineup that won them this basketball game.
Yeah, but we saw that last year too when when what's his name was injured and stuff too. So we saw that. Like I get it.
It was almost out of necessity tonight, though. Is my point. Like Diarra, like he just couldn't play. He went out in the first half. Like he was just not looking good. And I don't know. They seemed that whoever had the scout tonight, whether it was Luke Murray or Kamani Young, like kudos.
Yeah, no, I think for me, like the thing with Haas and like how they backed into this, like all that stuff, like it just comes down to like sometimes as a coach, like you just get, I mean, something happens and you just get lucky and you find something. It kind of happened in the Marquette game too, where they got into foul trouble and like you saw that wing heavy lineup with Solo at the top, and Haas was clearly diminished in that game too. And that's when they went on some of these big runs, especially when Marquette started to kind of chip away at that. So I just think for me, I love the small lineup for stretches of the game, especially even when you don't have a guy like Kalkbrenner, because what it does is it just gets more spacing. Like you just have more spacing on the floor for backdoor cuts for the plays that Dan and I were talking about earlier in the pod this afternoon, which is just these little curl plays, these little DHOs where they're dribble handoffs.
It opened up.
Liam,
it opened up.
Alex, Solo, whoever, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can lob it up, or we can take these little floaters, and those were huge, especially when you're not shooting a great percentage tonight from three. So that's a big part of it.
Yeah. And seeing more Stewie too. I mean, I think he's growing a little bit each game. He's getting a little more confidence each game, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. And it's not just the offensive end. It's like, he's actually barreling down on defense. He's grabbing like some pretty impressive rebounds. This is the beauty of college basketball, is you see some sophomore all of a sudden. I remember Crum Butler back in the day. There was like the second half of his sophomore year, not to compare, Stewie to Crum Butler, but he just like all of a sudden exploded in so many different ways. And it's exciting to see, like, look, we've got 2 months left of this season, hopefully. And
champions don't get crowned in February.
Yeah, there's a lot of players out there who still have a little bit of time to grow and to gain some confidence and to kind of like blossom before our eyes. So, I feel pretty good.
Guys, don't look now. Guys, don't look now. UConn holds Creighton, a very great offensive team who runs awesome offensive sets. Like some of their stuff in the first half looked like UConn basketball. So credit to Doug McDermott. UConn's defense holds Creighton to 40% shooting from the floor, 29% from three, and 70% from the free throw line. They're one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. UConn defense, Ken Pom, is on the cusp of cracking the top 100 in defensive efficiency, something we haven't seen all season long. Don't let this team get hot.
The rookie numbers.
Champions are not crowned in February.
Those are rookie numbers. Those are rookie numbers, son.
Don't let us crack the top 100 in defensive efficiency.
Hold on, Colin, before you leave,
give
me your favorite moment at UConn. It doesn't have to be anything baseball or sports related. What was your favorite time on campus? that you can say on a show that's PG-13.
I was there for a soccer tournament when I was like 12 years old in that old little swim / like field house thing, and watched UNC beat. Unfortunately, this is like it was such a cool memory watching UNC beat UConn in the Elite Eight on like this tiny little TV in like the corner of this soccer tournament. But it was like such a cool experience because like everybody was like crowded around, and it was on the UConn campus, and it was during this fun soccer tournament. But for some reason that's like something that will always like live with me. And I think that's when I first like cried after a game when I was like 8 years old or whatever. And, then it was just, you're a bleeding blue ever since.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it, dude. Thanks for jumping on the pod. Feel free to come back anytime.
All right. Appreciate it. Later.
All right, dude. All right, let's get okay in here, and then we'll close out the show.
All right. I'll say that being on the other side of a team that has a giant center really sucks. Like, that guy is so huge. And thank goodness we have the coaching staff that we do and going to the small lineup that we did, because going small ball and just to move him out of where he was being the tower of terror that we've come to love the previous 2 years, and doing it with 23% from three is just crazy. What was our offense tonight? It was just Liam doing cone drills against 6-foot cones. And, I'm a fan of any lineup that moves the ball, and whatever we need to do to just not stand still and put the ball up in the basket is the way to go. So that was pretty fun to watch, and take care of a player who really was set up to dominate this game early on. Like, the fouling was just crazy.
Oh, the mismatch was ridiculous.
It's a great point. And also got a comment here that I posted that we got a 7-footer incoming of Eric Riva. And I will tell you this, if Eric Riva's on this team tonight, we win that game probably by 10 points, just because he has the ability to kind of stretch a guy like Kalkbrenner. Obviously, he'd be a mismatch. He's not going to play great defense against Kalkbrenner. But the point is, just having a guy that can get out there and actually is a threat from three-point range as a five would have been like the best of both worlds, right? And that's why Eric is coming in to kind of
Eric Riva has a better offensive bag at 17 than Ryan Kalkbrenner does at 29.
1,000%. But he'd also get thrown around on defense because Kalkbrenner is like 47 years old. So, those are grown men out there. Like that reminds me of? It reminds me of like going to play a rec game where you think you're like hot shit, and then some like 16-year-old kid from like the high school team just comes in and kills everybody because we're all old. And Stephen Ashworth was like, "Wait a minute, I got a 6'8" guy guarding me now." He's like, "This is against the rules. Wasn't the 6'2" guy in here earlier?" Like that honestly. And Ashworth is great, and guys like when he's beating like Jay Ross off the dribble, like that can't happen. Like, and I'm not crapping on like our team because we won the game. I don't want to get negative, but like there was very few moments in that game where I felt like frustrated watching 25-year-old, the dad, recent father of Stephen Ashford playing basketball. Funniest thing ever is the Auburn kid. What's that guy? Chad Baker Mazzaro is 25, and someone put a side by side of him and Luka Doncic, and like Luka Doncic is 25. Think about that. My dude's been in the NBA for 8 years. Luka.
5-time
older than
first
Luka.
team All NBA. He's older than Luka Doncic.
Yeah, it's an older sport. That's what makes this Liam McNeely game that much more incredible. It's not like it's the one and done era where there's 50 guys that are all freshmen that are vying for like player of the year. It's Cooper Flagg and him. Maybe the kid from Baylor that also went to Montverde, Robert Wright. Mm-hmm. And there's another kid from Montverde too. Like those 4 dudes are the freshmen that are playing
from
best.
Maryland.
Yes, thank you, Derek Queen. Those 4 guys were all on the same team last year. How insane is that?
All 4 of them are going to be first-round NBA draft picks. Insane.
That's wild. That team was so stacked. And this is the last year of the COVID years too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys, like the Stephen Ashworth and Ryan Kalkbrenners who have played each 150 college basketball games, like that stuff, you're not going to see that anymore.
You're not going to see the record.
Oh, baby. Okay, you give us one more point, and then we're going to drop off.
Yeah, speaking of the COVID years, I think Alex must have something going on with the shooting flu, because whatever he's got going on is absolutely crazy and cannot continue. Like, there's no way you miss like 0 for 7 on threes, or like
in the last games.
So. But
I'll tell you that it can't get any worse, right? Like, he can't shoot any worse. Just keep shooting.
He's gonna recover. And I think he's been passing it off to whoever he's guarding. Like, he's just given them the sickness. We saw that a little bit from their shooters today. Whoever he's guarding, they're out of the game. So as long as he can keep doing that, like, get healthy one day, recover from the shooting flu, but until then, just pass it off to whoever you're guarding. I think we'll be okay.
Appreciate you, man. All right. Have a good rest of your night. All right, boys. You want to take us home? Joey, you've been neglected all night. I'm going to give you the first of the last words.
I've been waiting my time, not interrupting.
Man,
UConn's
what a
will
gentleman.
be fine. We just got to get healthy, and trust me, we're not the team you want to see come March and February. I mean, end of February, March. So,
Dan, Joey Bellbonds, man, a few words.
Top 25 teams drop like flies week by week. Kansas State beat number 13 Arizona tonight. Michigan beat number 7 Purdue. Kentucky beat top 5 Tennessee. Keep playing basketball. Keep progressing. Keep trying to find and unlock things like they did tonight with that small ball lineup. Like, keep just adding things to the bag of what this coaching staff and this team can turn to come the Big East tournament and come the national tournament. Like, UConn is one of the last teams in this landscape you want to continue to progress as the season goes on. Like Dan said this week, champions are not crowned in February. Keep finding, keep grinding away, keep hacking at the tree, and we'll see you in March.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. I will say one thing about the games tonight, other than the UConn game. Of course, Tennessee had to shit the bed because I would have won a nice little 14 parlay. But that's okay. Kind of on a heater lately, so that's all right. And it's all good. And also, by the way, I had UConn tonight too. And rarely do I bet UConn, and they were plus 4.5.
We both called that win. We both said they were going to win tonight. Kudos to us.
We did. It just felt weird. It was like a weird. It felt like a weird win tttonight. And guess what? It was a total weird win.
For whatever reason, this team just needs something to like get up for. They're a really good away team. I think they're 6-2 on the road this year.
Absolutely.
They booed Hurley. They booed Hurley.
Yeah.
Of course, that's okay. You know what? And some of these weirdos in the media that love to just clickbait and they make their money off of Dan Hurley's and their thumbnails and blah 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 blah. Kiss the rings tonight, boys. Guess what?
You need us.
This has been another episode of You Do Need Us. You hate us because you ain't us, right?
Hate us because you ain't us.
This has been another episode of Locked On UConn. I'm your host, Mark Zanetto, Joey Bellbonds, Dan Meehan. Go UConn.
Go Huskies.